Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are sharing with you one of the most iconic Amtrak train vacations, and that is the California Zephyr.
On our list of Amtrak vacations, this one takes the top of all the train routes Amtrak does. California Zephyr ranks number one for beauty. It is our favorite route and most people's favorite route. We are taking this ride from Chicago to Emeryville. It is a 51-hour train journey, and then we're going to go on to San Francisco from there. Definitely, I think, the most scenic ride in the U.S.
I think this is the one if you're thinking about doing just one train vacation, and we get asked this all the time. People say, what should I do? What's the number one vacation I should do? What's the number one train? This is it. It's the most gorgeous views. I think it has been dubbed the most beautiful train ride in the U.S. And I think that without question, you'll see what that was like. So we're starting out in Chicago, and we're going to take it across to Emeryville, and from there, of course, on to San Francisco. So our trip starts at Chicago Union Station. This station is amazing. It is a destination in and of itself. It was built in 1925, and the architecture in there is so beautiful. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, it also has a great Metropolitan Lounge, Chicago Union Station. It is a double level lounge, which is, not even the New York lounge is double level. So this is a great lounge. They have food, they have snacks. There are so many trains leaving from Chicago that it stays very busy, but they do an amazing job getting you on the train. So definitely check out the Metropolitan Lounge if you're riding this train. Get there ahead of time, and you'll see everything they have to offer.
Yeah, now they only have light snacks in the Metropolitan Lounge. So if you did want something a little bit heavier, or like say you didn't have lunch or breakfast or whatever, you can always run upstairs to the food court area. There's tons of restaurants. You can order the food, bring it with you back to the lounge, and enjoy it in the peace and quiet in the lounge.
You can also get some food to take with you on the train and eat it while you're on the train. And that will be something that you're going to be happy about, because you're going to be on the train for a long time, so you may be eating some of the same food on the ride. So we usually get a few snacks to bring with us, get lunch in the lounge, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah, and so from the lounge, one of the great things about the lounge is, like Rob said earlier, there's it could be a little confusing when you're at the station because there's so many trains coming and going, not just the Amtrak trains, but also the local trains. So you always have to be paying attention. But the nice thing about the lounge is that they tell you when your train is boarding, and an Amtrak staff person actually walks you down. You get in a line like at school, and then you walk down to the platform for your train. The other great thing too that I love is that with train travel, as opposed to say like air travel, when they board, we're boarded in like minutes.
Yeah.
So it is really nice to just get on the train. Within just a few minutes, the next thing you know, you look up, by the time you settle up into your room, you look out the window and you're like, oh my gosh, we're moving already.
Yeah, and it does make me feel like I'm back in kindergarten when you have everybody in class walking a line. It's the same thing to get on this train. They're going to weave you through the whole station, right to the train, whole line of people coming from the lounge. It's great because there's no stress about trying to find the train or what time you need to go do it. So that's just great. But we're going to get on the train, and our room we booked is a roomette, which is our most common booked room and probably our favorite. This is a Superliner train, so it's going to be the roomette that is a little bit tighter than the Viewliner one, but we're going to show you what that's all about.
Yeah, so the roomette is, the nice thing is that when we got on this one, we were so excited because we could see quickly that this was one with the new reupholstered seats. So it was feeling plushy and it smelled pretty good. They redid the upholstery on the seats, and they redid also the curtains as well, were new. But we like the roomettes. It is the smaller of all of the sleeper car options, but it works easily for us because we don't have an issue with having someone sleeping on the top bunk and someone on the bottom. We have made the recommendation before, if you both want to sleep on the bottom bunk, the very best option is to get two roomettes. and right across from each other, and you both sleep on the bottom bunk, and you have a little extra space. The bedroom does seem to be, it's supposed to be more space, but it is a little tighter, and that bonus that you get of your own bathroom and shower, it's a closet, like a really small closet.
Yeah, the main problem most people have with the roomette is that one person does have to sleep on the upper level, and that is not solved by the bedroom, because still, if you're in a bedroom, there's more floor space, but there aren't two beds on the bottom level, so you're not really gaining anything there. And then, like she said, the shower is not really as good as the shower that's in the lower level of the train. So even if we're in a bedroom, we end up using the shower on the lower level of the train anyway, because it's bigger and no one ever uses it. I say this all the time, but I've never seen another person using a shower on an Amtrak train. In all the rides I've taken, I've never seen one person going to the shower, coming from the shower, or in the shower when I went down to try to use it. Never. So it's going to be pretty much empty all the time. You won't have to worry about a rush for the shower.
Yeah, and the roomette is going to run you for this trip. It's going to be, depending on how far in advance you book and what time of the year you book, it's about $1,200 or so, give or take. If you're booking a little bit closer to the departure date, it's going to be more. So we always tell you, when you're booking, book as far out in advance as you can, because you're going to get a better price. If you're traveling within 1 or 2 months, the price could go up by $500 or $600, which is a lot of money. So make sure you book out as far as you can, get the better deal. And that's the thing about the roomette, is the roomette was about $1,100, but we looked at possibly getting a bedroom on this ride, and it was almost $3,000. So we thought, you know what, we're gonna stick to Old Faithful, to our roomette. And we really enjoyed it, because we also enjoy having our meals in there too.
We do, and we use a companion coupon to get this room. And you do get those through being a member of the Amtrak Guest Rewards, and you will also get those by being a member of or having the Amtrak credit card. You can get those. So we did use that. It saves you a little bit of money. Still though, we get the roomette because we just really do like it. I feel at home in the roomette. Now, I'm not a claustrophobic at all, so I do sleep on the upper level. And I will say it is tight up there. Like, it is... I'm not claustrophobic, but it's still hard to move around a little bit. Like, if you get in going head first, you're going to have to back out. You cannot turn around up there. I've tried turning around. I think I did accomplish it once, but my foot got caught in the netting, and it was a whole few minutes where I couldn't move. So I don't recommend that. It is very tight also at night when you're sleeping. There's just, less than a foot of headspace above you while you're sleeping. So if you are claustrophobic, you are going to have a problem with that. You want to look for sleeping on the lower level or in a viewliner, because there's much more room in a viewliner train. But those don't run on this route, so that's not a possibility.
So forget it.
Yeah, you'd have to take a different train altogether. But I really enjoyed this room, and there's a feeling of comfort when I'm up there. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I think it's a pretty good setup, and honestly, the thing is, you can move around the train, you got your fresh air breaks, and it's just enough room this is a 3-day, 2-night trip, so it's just enough. You're not in there for that long, honestly, when it boils down to it. It's just for that sleeping situation.
Yeah, because during the day, the bed will be up, and you'll have both chairs sit in, and you also have access to the observation car. So I do want to reiterate that the whole train has access to this. If you're in coach, if you're in sleepers, you can go there. Now, on this route, it is probably the only route where they do enforce time limits on the observation car. You will hear them say, if you've been in there, then it's time for you to leave, because we need to get more people in there. So be a little strategic with when you want to go in there and find out what the best time is, because you don't want to be in there when it's not very scenic.
Yeah, I think this happened to a few people. They went in there early to reserve a spot for during the scenic part of the trip. They went in too early, and they put a time limit. Whoever's in there now, they came over and said, whoever is in here now, you got another 30 minutes, and then we're going to swap out with another group of people. So they saved that spot, and literally before they got to all the views, they got switched out. So you got to really pay attention and be strategic in when you go in there, because it will be packed. Even if you're sitting like in the tables of 4, other people will join you because the tables are open for everybody. So it does get really crowded in there during the scenic parts. So definitely, if you've got a seat that already has a view, don't bother. If you've got a room on the correct side of the train, then don't bother going to the observation car during the most scenic part of the ride, because that way it'll give the opportunity to people that don't have that option. They're either sitting in an aisle seat in coach, or they're seated, or they have a room on the wrong side of the train.
Correct, yeah. So both sides are actually scenic once you get to Colorado, but the south facing side is definitely better. So if you're going the way we were going, it's the left side of the train. If you're going from Emeryville to Chicago, it's the right side of the train. So that's going to be the south facing, and it has better views of the canyon. Once you get into the canyon, you'll be hugging the wall to the north of the canyon. So if you're on the north side of the train, you'll be looking at the wall, canyon wall, and you're pretty close. So you can't really tell what it is. It's just not that far away from you. But then to the south side, you'll be seeing the river, the canyon, and all the sights to see. So you definitely this is one of those trains where it's better to be on a certain side, and it's the south side. But you can't pick that when you're booking your room, which is unfortunate. So when you get on the train, you just kind of see what you have, and if you are not on the south side, then you're going to have to make plans to get to the observation car when it's at its prettiest.
Exactly. I think that's the hard part, is you don't know, and they don't know when you're booking it, because they switch the train car's direction. So a room that was going one direction one way, then the next time it's going that same direction, it could be on the other side, because sometimes they flip them around depending on, the tracks that they're on and different things like that. For a variety of reasons, the cars get switched around in direction. So a room, if you're in room number 2 and it's on the correct side, it could be on the incorrect side the next day going in the same direction.
Yeah, so this train is beautiful. We do ride through the heartland of America, through Nebraska, all of that kind of thing, and we enjoy that. But the real kind of showstopper begins once you pull into Denver. When you leave Denver, that is the sign that things are about to get really, really good. But you arrive in Denver, and there's a pretty long break there to kind of get yourself all pulled together before you enter the canyons.
Yeah, you can tell that everybody's getting real excited too, because that is also a crew change. That's why it's a longer stop. So you've got time to move around and everything, and get your fresh air and get your steps, as many as you can, and just prepare, because when you leave Denver, then things really start to look good.
Yeah, from there, that is definitely the time to start thinking about heading to the observation lounge, because you're going to want to be able to see all these things. I just love the view of the canyon and just the water rushing. It's beautiful. A lot of times on this train, they do give you announcements of what you're seeing over the intercom, and that is also great.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that. I think most of the time they try to do that. There's a few conductors that really it's like their life's passion project to share what's along this track. Some of them will share a little bit more than others, just depending on how interested they are in it or how much information they know about it. But it was pretty cool. We've had several different experiences. We did have one, I think we had the same one a couple of times that we've been on this route. We've been on it multiple times in both directions. And we had one guy that was just extremely passionate, and he showed us every single little thing. They're like, do you see that overturned truck on the side of the mountain? Such and such thing happened with that. And then he told us about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Gang and where it started, all kinds of stuff you learned that I didn't know going in. So it was pretty cool, very informative, and just a really good experience overall when they do that.
Yeah, one of the stars of this show is the Glenwood Canyon, and as the train goes along the river, you're going to see so many amazing sights. These are things you just can't see from the car if you're traveling on the interstate. We also did this trip last year driving, and it was not nearly as pretty.
No, I remember doing that and thinking, well, this is a lot less beautiful than it is when we're on the train. And that is why we do love train travel. You get a completely different view of America, or anywhere that you are when you ride the train. You get a different view because it doesn't follow exactly a highway all the time. And through the mountains and things like that, you don't get that view when you're in a car. So you get to see some really unique things, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about train travel.
Yeah, now we have been eating some of our meals on this trip in our roomette. You do have the choice on this train to either eat in the dining room if you are in a sleeper car, or you can eat those meals in your roomette. If you're in coach, you can go to the cafe and get a meal and eat it there. You can take it back to your seat, or they'll often let you pay to go to the dining car if there's room available. So we did a mixture. We've been eating some in the dining car and some in our room, but a lot of times if our room is on the correct side of the train, we will just eat our meals in the room because we know what we want to see. We know it's going to be on that side. Whereas in the dining car, you're not sure really which side they're going to put you on. That's another thing you could try if your room is on the north side. Maybe go to the dining car when you're going through the canyons and eat a meal. See if they'll seat you on the south side. Because a lot of people won't know which side they want to be on, and they won't ask. They'll just take whatever seat they get. So if you go to the dining car, kind of be like, well, I want to sit on that side. They'll probably accommodate you for that, and it'll be a good kind of way to get in to see that.
Yeah, I think that is a nice thing. It's a little extra bonus for sleeper car passengers to be able to get those views, because sometimes it's during a meal time when you're going through these gorgeous views. Like when you're in those canyons, you're gonna have a meal or two. So if you're not on the correct side of the train, then definitely, go to the dining car and ask if you could sit on that side, because that way you'll get the views and you don't have to fight for a seat in the observation car.
Yeah, there's no better Amtrak experience in my mind than, I think my favorite meal is the Amtrak cheeseburger. Now I've tried cheeseburgers on pretty much every train in the world that will serve them. And the Amtrak cheeseburger is the best. So that's what I have to say. So if you're eating the Amtrak cheeseburger and you're riding through the canyons in Colorado, that's a top of the line experience. Sitting in the dining room, chatting with some friends, seeing the sights. You really can't beat that. But sometimes we'll eat them in our room. That's also good. But I do like doing it in the dining car if we can get a seat on the south side.
Yeah, it is good. And with your fare, you do get all of your meals included. If you're in a sleeper car, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you're on the train for, they feed you those meals every single day. Your attendant will help you coordinate that. And if you want to eat your meal in your room, like we do sometimes, just let your attendant know, and the attendant will come get your order, and then they'll also bring you the food in your room, which is really great. That way you don't have to do anything. They take care of you.
So as we pull out of Colorado, the landscape is going to start to change, and we are making our way into Utah and into Nevada. These are also beautiful because there's some pretty incredible rock formations in Utah that you'll see. Utah is one of the underrated states as far as scenery, and we've driven through Utah. It's beautiful to drive through, but there are different things you can see from the train that you will not see from the car.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Once you start seeing those red rock formations and the deserts, it's just so beautiful. Utah is definitely a gorgeous state, and it doesn't get enough attention probably because it has so many other more popular states around it, I think. But Utah is gorgeous, and from the train it is stunning. You get some gorgeous views as well.
Yeah, so this one, we're going to take our meal in our room at this point, because one thing I will mention about the dining car on the California Zephyr, it is a train that is pretty much always packed and is pretty much always at capacity. So you will be sharing a table with other people. And so if you like that, that's fine. If you don't, you can always eat in your room. But it will make it a little bit harder if you just want to do some photography or do some videos, because we'll have people with you there that you're talking to. So sometimes when we go at some of these meal times and we want to do some filming with our video camera or some photography with our camera, we will eat in our room because we don't want to be like rude and ignore the people at the table. But you do want to take your pictures too. So you want to have the best of both. So you can really choose. And this one, we decided to eat in our room again, just to have that kind of relaxing time and just take our time eating and look at the sights and be able to converse like that.
Yeah, I think it just, like you said, it depends on what the trip is and what the views are, if we're up to being in the dining car or not. Because if it's, you know, the gorgeous views, I just want to enjoy those while I'm eating and just not really converse much, so that I can really take those views in. So that is nice that you have that option.
So you might think the views are over, but as you get into California, the views, I wouldn't say they get better than Colorado, but they are very nice, among some of the best on the Amtrak system. As you climb up into the Sierra Nevada mountains, and you get a glimpse of Donner Lake. Now this was, the first time I saw this, I didn't realize how pretty this was. Going over Donner Pass on the train is pretty amazing. You can read all about the history of that and why it is named that, but it's a pretty fascinating place to be. History and beauty all wrapped up into one.
Yeah, it is actually stunning. I had heard of it before, and the history, and sometimes they'll also, again, the conductors will come on and give you a little bit of the history of it and tell you a little bit about it, but the views are absolutely stunning. I wasn't expecting it to be so beautiful, and you can kind of, you know, really take in the treacherous terrain, get a good view of what it really is.
Yeah, now about this time you're starting to feel like you've been on the train for several days. This is about the time you want to go hit that shower if you haven't. Again, I don't know why nobody else does, but you definitely want to get that shower before you get into Emeryville, because you've had 2 overnights on the train now. So if you are feeling a little, you know,
a little sticky,
you need to hit that shower. So we like to have a good breakfast. Now the breakfast on Amtrak on this route is great because it is traditional dining. They do have the Amtrak Railroad French Toast, which is my personal favorite. A lot of great choices for breakfast, really.
Yeah, that Railroad French Toast, I think people will riot if they ever took it off the menu. They've made several changes to the menus over the years, but they always do keep the Railroad French Toast because it is so good, and it's just kind of their trademark. That and the flat iron steak, I think, are the 2 key things on the menu all the time because they are really popular and they are really good, and they're probably 2 of our top favorites off the menu overall.
Yeah, once you pass that, you kind of weave down through California into Emeryville, and it's at this point that you start to realize your train ride is almost over. You do have some other nice sights though through California. It's really quite a beautiful state, and again, things you won't see that you're driving. You will go by Truckee and see kind of a beautiful thing there. But as we get into California, you know, as we get into Emeryville, it's time to think about the next leg of your journey, which for us was making it to San Francisco. And so you start to think about the baggage you've brought and the luggage you've brought. Now what we do on these trains is we don't check our bags on a Superliner train. We only check them on a Viewliner, because in the bottom level of the Superliner sleeper cars, there's plenty of room for you to put your big checked bags. And if you do that, if you forget something in there, you do have access to those in the middle of the night. If you check your bags on this train, they'll go in the baggage car and you will not have access to them until you get to Emeryville. Not only that, once you get there, you'll have to wait for them to be offloaded. It'll take a little extra time for you to get to your hotel if you're staying in Emeryville.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good choice to, on the Superliners, to not check the bags, because it is then just a quick off and you're out the door quickly. If you're waiting for your bags, then, you know, that taxi line gets longer or that Uber queue gets longer. And then they do have the buses that you could take right into Emeryville, right into San Francisco as well. But, you know, you got to make sure you line up with the buses and get your bags on there and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so we got off quickly. We hopped in an Uber to San Francisco to check into our hotel. We're going to be staying at the Intercontinental, which is amazing, so we did use points to get that. And we have some special things we got lined up for this trip. We're going to head to Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz has been on our list for a really long time, and we're finally making it happen this trip because I think the weather's going to hold up. So we are definitely looking forward to that, to the pier, to all different kinds of things. There's going to be so many things here. We're even going to try out, we heard something about self-driving cars, the Waymos. I think we're going to try those out too. We're going to try a lot of different things out while we're in San Francisco. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. We did share a lot of tips here along the way, but I know if it's your first trip, you've got questions about what you should not do, what you should bring, what you should not bring. We do have a list down below in the description of a lot of the things that we pack with us on our train trips. And we've also made videos here on the channel of a packing video for train trips as well, and how to separate your luggage so you don't have to open up your big bags downstairs in the middle of the trip. Check those out here on the channel as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Give us a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time.